I'm a prof at Algonquin. I've been teaching at Algonquin for 13 years, and I don't think that it's beneficial for me to be here and just ramble on about X, Y, and Z. So I'm happy to answer any questions that I possibly can, and I'd like everybody to please understand that it's so fluid and everything's changing by the minute. I don't have. I always tell the students, I have the right answers. I don't have all the answers. So hopefully I have something I can share with you, but I'm totally cool to open this up to the floor right now. At least if maybe you want to moderate or let me know what some of the questions are, I'd be happy to answer anything that I possibly can. And I'm here for everybody. I seem to have the ear of a lot of politicians right now. And truthfully, between me, you, and the fence post, I don't know how much that's really going to matter. A lot of people said it's not going to matter. They don't listen anyways. But this is all we've got right now. So whatever we can do, we've got to do together.
So are you able to go over just the basics of what is being offered right now for small businesses from the government? What has been told that these small businesses are going to have, just in case people aren't aware of what all of the offers are at this point?
Yeah, sure. So here's what I know I got a call from I call it co-opetition this morning, a similar business to us. And they were saying that BDC did release already this morning a webinar. It is on YouTube. And apparently, from what I understand, I haven't seen it yet because I've jumped from call to call to this call. Apparently, BDC now is offering 0.75% interest as opposed to the 4%. I can't guarantee that, but there apparently is this webinar that is available on YouTube. But the initial offer put forward, for lack of a better term, was that Minister Morneau is going to put $10 billion through the BDC, through EDC for us to access. But it came down to we were all unable to access it. And BDC didn't know how we were all going to access it. And then it came out with what I described earlier. And to me, in my opinion, that just didn't work for small business. So as of, I think, about 6 o'clock this morning, if you haven't heard, the Liberal government did get it to pass the House, which is positive, and whatever that's going to look like. And I'm sure we'll be hearing all about that very soon. I did see somebody just put up wage subsidies. Yeah, the other thing was a wage subsidy of 10%. But by the time when I was on the call with Catherine McKenna, there was a gentleman from Ernst & Young on there, and apparently it was going to take 5 weeks to be able to obtain that wage subsidy. But really at this point, a week for most, I think is too long. 5 weeks is unreasonable, and for it to be a 10% wage subsidy to try and avoid layoffs, it's not acceptable either, in my opinion.
So another question which came in was saying that they're being instructed currently to exhaust resources through the bank before BDC will help support. And they want to know if you know of any way that there is to go directly to BDC rather than through the bank solutions first.
Yeah, sure. So, I think obviously if you already have a relationship anywhere, things are easier. So I do have a personal relationship with my business through BDC. And depending on what your volume is and how much money you're generating, they have different levels, right? Different account managers. Over the years, I just stepped up a level, which is like the worst time ever to do so because I don't have a relationship with the person that I deal with now. But if any of you know Carrie Ann Johnson from BDC, I've known her for 2 or 3 years. She is amazing. I can try and connect you with her. I don't know how far that's going to get you, but I'd be more than happy to, if you want to email me, you can do so. My email is mike@ottawaspecialevents.com. And then I will just connect you to Carrie Ann. I can make an intro. I can do that probably around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon, if not earlier. But for me, from my bank, I deal with a credit union, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to get that much support from them. I did ask for an extension on my line of credit, and all cards on the table. It has not happened yet. I did ask for a deferment on my term loan, which we have for equipment. And I was told that I was told that I would find out Monday. I did not find out Monday where it was at, but perhaps I could just charge the interest. And there's an article, you can find it very easily, and I can try and share it with you too if you email me, with the Toronto Star, saying that banks that are willing to still profit off of this situation we're all in, this is no bueno. And that it's really going to cost people more money in the end, because they're going to continue charging interest, and here we are. So
I've just put your email in the chat for anybody who wants to send Michael an email. We have another question, and it's somebody who had emailed us and said, with cash flow essentially stopped by order of province and feds, how are owners supposed to pay their bills and rent without falling further behind? Do business owners have any rights in this situation? Can landlords collect interest on deferred rent payments at this time? Do you know kind of where people should be looking for this kind of assistance, or where their rights lie with this kind of stuff, what to expect?
Yeah, so that is like the $1 million question, and unfortunately for whatever reason on my end, it might be my internet. It was a little garbled in my ear, so I apologize if I didn't understand the question completely, and we can come back to it. So here's what I did from just my personal experience. I did send, but last week I did start sending letters, formal letters to our landlord. I do rent the building that I'm in, saying at this point we are not going to make rent. And this is truthfully, I did lay off my entire staff of 20 people a week and a half ago, which was heartbreaking. But I did lay it out very clearly with everybody. I've laid off my staff. I've returned my rental trucks. I've followed step A, B, C, all the way down to M right now to limit all of my expenses. And my landlord, for the most part, was understanding. I know that not everybody is in that position. I know that there is a position that the landlord shouldn't have to do anything, but here we are. This is extraordinary times. We are basically all sitting in a history class right now, watching it unfold in front of us. And I agree that we are in this moment, this state of emergency. Jim Watson declared a state of emergency today too. I don't know exactly what that means for the city just yet. I saw it right before I hopped on here. But the thing is that you're 100% right. You have no revenue. I have no revenue coming in whatsoever, because the government said no public gatherings. So from that standpoint, when do people, let's say just argument's sake, they say at the end of May, yep, everything's good. Will people go to public gatherings? Are they still going to be afraid? At what point does people's fear let go and they're like, okay, I feel comfortable that I can go to this now, or I can go to this conference with 500 people from around the world and not risk getting sick, right? So there's going to be the period of, okay, we're okay, and continue with our normal lives, but then there'll be another period of people just don't want to engage yet. They want to make sure for sure that everybody's going to be healthy.
Yeah. So we have another question here. Jenna says, we pay for business interruption insurance. Our insurance broker is placing a claim that said that because this issue has not actually been named, we may receive a declined response. Have you checked out insurance? What are people paying for if they have business interruption insurance?
Yeah, and Jenna, like, holy moly, right? I am completely, I just had to reposition myself because I think I'm getting so anxious over this whole situation. So I called my insurance broker and I said to him, after I've been paying for 13 years business interruption insurance, what can we do? And I was told it doesn't cover pandemics. Now, the question of what have we been paying for, my insurance broker said, and this doesn't make it right, don't get me wrong here, is that maybe one building or two buildings will burn down in in Canada a day, for instance. And, this is not a pandemic. This is not 50,000 businesses, 100,000 businesses calling and saying, hey, my business just burnt down. I need business interruption insurance to kick in. So the insurance companies, in my opinion, have decided that they're going to just protect themselves. I think if you are a good person, that we all should have been covered, but they've literally just said this is not it. So that's the experience I had, Jenna, that my insurance companies told me no. Now, what I did do with the insurance company, if they said that, depending on what all of your businesses are, I have $5 million in liability insurance because I'm building stages and I'm setting up speakers and sound and lighting. I did tell my insurance company, whack my liability insurance down to the bare minimum for my policy. And I've really reduced every last bit of insurance because I'm not doing shows. So like there's absolutely no risk for me of something going wrong at a show and needing to execute $5 million in liability. So I have reduced my payment premiums that I'm paying right now just until we get through this and I start working again.
So another comment has come through, and they said the relief rule applies to 1 to 5 people corporations equally, do the relief rules apply to 1 to 5 people corporations equally as compared to those of 100 employees? So do you know if the compensation for like smaller businesses versus the larger businesses, is that going to be the same, slightly different? I think that's what the question is asking.
Do you mind just repeating the front half of that?
Yeah. The relief rule applies to 1 to 5 people corporations equally, or do they compare to those of 100 employees?
I don't have an answer, unfortunately, on that. But if we look at it this way, I put on something on Twitter the other day, and I've had about 60,000 impressions of this one thought that, Bombardier employed in 2017 60,000 people. SNC employed 54,000, whatever the number was. So combined, it was about 110,000. Small business employs over 7 million people in this country, and the whole way down with companies like Bombardier, SNC Lavalin, it's always been about jobs. Okay, well, we have a much larger corporation called small business that employs 700 times the amount of people, and right now it should be about jobs. So, I don't know exactly what the compensation is looking like for that question, but at some point something's got to give here because we're all getting pretty desperate. So
yeah. So on that note, what do you think people's next steps should be? Like as we wait to see if more information comes out and more help is available, or like where should people be looking next for their business?
Sure. So I personally think that everybody has to do their part right now to reduce their costs. Whatever they can do to reduce costs, this is going to be key. Because the problem is we have somebody south of the border that I don't think is overly bright, who is saying that we're going to be everything in the United States is going to be back in business by Easter. I think that's completely irresponsible, but that's not our issue up here. I've heard everything from him saying that to people up here saying October is when business and everything could resume. So I think we've got to lower our costs. We've got to talk to our banks. Communication in anything is key. That's why I started sending these emails last week early, because before they got flooded, I wanted to be the first one to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to make a payment on this. And, I had one young lady decide that she was going to school me a little bit on Facebook, saying that the MPs were too busy and I shouldn't be bothering them with asking for a teleconference. I think everybody needs to reach out to their MP. I know that they know, like they have to know, that people are in desperate times. An Ottawa Senators hockey player who is in a slump knows that he is in a slump and doesn't have to read the Citizen to see that. But the thing is, though, is that we have to stay on top of, you know, our government officials. They represent us. We need money. We need support. I don't need more debt. I don't need to fight debt with debt. I need forgivable loans. And when I say I, don't get me wrong, people, I mean we as a collective. You know, we need forgivable loans. We can't be putting up a personal guarantee. We can't be, you know, paying an application fee to try and keep our business alive. We are the engine that pumps this country, and this is where we need to be. And, you know, we need to now figure out what the state of emergency for Ottawa means. And, you know, I had a city councilor on another thing I was doing the other night, and they were going to close all parks and play structures. Fine, great, let's do this. But at the same time, we have to support small business. This is what's going to make or break this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think as small businesses, you need to stick together, because they sometimes, I can imagine, get left behind a little bit when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? And so it's important to advocate for each other.
100%. And, you know, there's a lot of people in this city that are advocating. You know, I'm sure everybody knows Jared Goldsmith. You know, all you basically see is the outline of a fedora running down the street yelling like, we need to fix small business. And, you know, the thing is, you know, we've got great people. We've got people with strong voices. I'm not going to be able to sleep at night knowing that one person in this city lost their business for a reason that was not brought on by themselves. You know, and really, when I say that, I don't think anybody loses a business because of something that they've done. I'm just using this as a
but it's completely out of our control at this point. We're being forced to shut down. People are being forced to move their businesses to online or whatever, if they can at that. So yeah, no, I don't think anyone's misinterpreting that it was brought on by themselves. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, and you know, the fact that, you know, the big six, the banks, big five, you know, are charging interest even on mortgage deferrals. You know, a mortgage deferral should be a mortgage deferral. Just let it go. You know, I think the number was they made a $46 billion profit last year, and small business at the most part is alive by a month, maybe 3 months on average. To me, there's a major disconnect between both sides of it, and people need to get more in touch with the reality of what small business is and what we do. And you know, my business partner doesn't want me talking about, you know, numbers per se, but you know, every year, like last year, for the first time, we hit 3 million in rentals, and I pay myself $20 an hour. Just so you know, I'm always going to be real, authentic, and truthful. I pay myself $20 an hour at my shop. I have staff that make more money than I do, but I do everything in my power to run a successful business. And I'm not a millionaire. And just like most of you, I'm going to take a look here. 46 of you on here. I guarantee you that 46 of us are not millionaires. And we are all just trying to have enough money for our families and enough money to live and do something that we're passionate about and enjoy. And here we are all in a big problem right now.
Yeah. Do you know what support is available for small businesses in situations where they don't have staff, so they don't get wage help and they can't go through EI themselves?
Yeah, so like that's the question, right? So, you know, you 2 weeks ago, the Prime Minister, and really this is a non-partisan thing, but the Prime Minister said that nobody's not going to be able to pay rent. Okay. And then everybody's going to have access to EI. And then I heard a thing that EI was going to be at 95% of what your salary is. There's so much rumor floating around out there that it's tough because, you know, the gig economy, so in my world, I have staff that are audio technicians, lighting technicians, and they go out and they freelance outside of their normal working hours. There's so many people that, you know, that have their own business, which is a solopreneur, right? And how are they going to make the money? You know, I feel bad right now too. Like a friend of mine is a server at a high-end restaurant, and she makes $300 to $400 a night in tips. And most servers, I hope nobody from the CRA is on here, but most servers declare about 10% of their tips. And so, she's making $12 an hour, $11 an hour, whatever the reduced minimum wage is for somebody in the service industry. And she right now is having a real problem with getting EI, because a lot of restaurants, especially if they're older restaurants, she just got a paper copy of her ROE today, 2 weeks later from being laid off. And then, just so everybody knows too, the only Service Canada location that I believe to be open right now is in Beacon Hill. So she went to the one on Prince of Wales by Farmers Pick and the passport office right at Maribel and Meadowlands and Prince of Wales, to find that Service Canada yesterday was closed. And well, how is that a real thing, right? So, she's gone down now today, but there's a lot of people that, either are self-employed in micro businesses or solopreneurs, or in the service industry that everybody's in trouble. Everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's hard, right? Like, feel like we're getting a lot of answers from government, but not a lot of direction on how it's going to go. We're getting big numbers and we don't really know what to expect. These are big numbers, and there's a lot of people that also are going to be relying on it.
For sure. And we live in a polite society where, that's funny, Tara, I see your comment there. We live in a polite society, but now it's at the point where I don't think we can afford to be polite anymore with getting what we're going to need to survive. This is about survival now, and about us. And I'm not saying go out and buy 30 packages of toilet paper. All I'm saying is you need to have your voice heard. That's all. And you need to have your voice heard with your bank. You need to have your voice heard with your suppliers, and so on. And this is it. Here we are.
Mm-hmm. This is it. There's another question. I'm just scrolling up to find it. It says, we are a startup and just about to commence the business. We signed a contract to get it started, and now we're committed. How do you think BDC could help them get started? Or what do you suggest they do to get started?
That's funny, because I actually am involved with somebody too in a startup right now. That would have been like perfect to deal with this situation we're all in. It's like a month late.
Right.
Yeah. So, depending on, like, I'm not sure what industry you're in, but depending on the industry, if you're in the event rental business and this is your startup, then there's nothing that anybody can do. But if you want, I can connect you to BDC. I can connect you to my friend Carrie Ann. She's probably going to kill me if I have all of these people. That I'm like, hey, Carrie Ann, meet Tom, meet Mary, meet Peter, and going down the list. But hey, let's just see what we can do. I'm happy to also, if you want to add me to LinkedIn. I think Facebook, I'm almost out of people I can add because it's a 5,000 person network. But if you add me to LinkedIn, we can chat over that too. And I'm pretty open. You might get back to you around 2 a.m, but you'll still hear back from me at some point.
Awesome. Did you have, or I guess, does any of the attendees have any more questions for Mike or whatnot? Someone said they just met BDC. So this is the follow-up to the question we just asked. They just met BDC. They're asking for cash flows from the past. So I'm assuming if you have a new business, there's probably not a lot of cash flow from previous time.
Yeah, and that's what my bank's asking me for too right now. They're asking me for cash flow, and I'm like, the cash is only flowing one way right now. It's like flowing out, and there's nothing flowing in. So I can give you all of my cash flow perspective, but it's going the wrong way. That's the problem. So I think that this is a time for someone. We're gonna have to meet somebody who's innovative, who gets it, who wants to be part of a solution. And the interesting thing, I'll add this one thing, is that Catherine McKenna, and I don't want anybody like thinking that this is a bad thing that she said, because it really isn't. When she met with us, she said, what are your solutions? And it's not that she doesn't have ideas. That's not what she was saying. What, in my opinion, what she was saying was, I'm here, I'm all ears. If I hear something that we are not already doing, then great. So, guys, everybody here, I would go after your MPPs, your MPs, and whether you feel they're listening or not. At the end of the day, this is all we've got. So we might as well put what we have in the cannon, even if it's a can of soup. Put it in the cannon, fire it, and then hope for the best. I see somebody's asking me for my LinkedIn profile. Just give me 1 sec here. I can get that because I'm not sure if. Go ahead.
I was to say, while you're searching for your LinkedIn stuff, we'll get you to put all of your social media and where people can find you, website and everything in the comments so that people can reach out if they need to, and if they want to check out the business and whatnot and support local, that's great. They said they just got started in their corporation before the whole crisis started. Will they be able to claim wage support for their 2 employees? They're in the IT consulting industry.
So wage support, that I'm not sure, to tell you the honest truth. What I do know, like if somebody's going to claim EI, they do traditionally they've had to work X amount of hours, and I'm not sure what those hours are per se. But yeah, so I think hopefully, guys, honestly, with the bills passing in Parliament today, that we'll have more information, within a couple hours. I don't know if Trudeau's planning on speaking today. I assume he is.
I think it was happening at 11, so it should be up and able to be watched at this point.
Okay, got it.
And Lex said 700 hours to apply for EI.
Yeah, I see that too. I'm just passing off some links here where people can connect with me.
Yeah,
and go from there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just to make you laugh before I go, I was a touring musician for 10 years. I was touring the world. I am aware, because some people will send this to me because they find it, I am still aware that I was a sunshine boy for the Ottawa Sun. So if you happen to start Googling me and you come across a photo of me as a sunshine boy for the Ottawa Sun, I am aware that did happen, and I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but you may see it, so.
That's okay. Everyone's got a past, right?
Exactly.
One more question, if you can, before you go.
Sure.
Someone said, how will this affect businesses that are working from home partially? Do you know they've had a few contracts put on hold, so they have a few, but not enough to pay out what's needed?
Yeah, so I think it's going to come down to, I assume when the person's asking that they're working from home, that they're a solopreneur. I think it's going to come down to whether small business owners can claim EI and go from there. Because the hardest thing, I think a lot of people will agree, and it's frustrated me slightly more than it should. I'm a pretty patient person, and I just find it a little distasteful right now is when I do get a sales call from somebody and they're like, hi, I'd like you to, are you still interested in this SEO service or this, social media marketing service? And I'm like, buddy, that right now is not the right time for this. I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong in this because, I find my business is shut down. But maybe these people are right. Maybe we keep trying to make money, but I just find right now cold calling or prospect chasing it's for me, it's just, it doesn't feel good. It's not what I would do, but I understand we all have to eat too, right?
Right. And so I think on that note, being someone who works primarily with the online stuff, it's about pivoting your message, right? You have to be aware of the sensitivities in this area now. You can't be cold calling people to sell your services. You need to be looking at different angles so that it's bringing value to people, but it doesn't make them feel like you're just out to get their money. Because like you said, people still have to eat, but it's, you have to be able to give a little bit on that end from the seller's side.
Yeah, I see both sides. I just, and for me, I've sat here going, should I be looking for business? But the problem is my business, I don't know when anything's going to be lifted. So I think that's also why I decided to shift gears. I'm like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Politician, you're about to hear from the woodman, and this might get crazy. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope I found this really helpful, and I hope that everyone was able to. Yeah, perfect. So for those of you still listening, TCC is doing webinars every couple days now during the week. So we're trying to bring out as many helpful information and panelists for people if they can do that. Our next one's going to be on Monday at 11 o'clock, same time, so keep an eye out for that. It's going to be about productivity from working from home, because we understand a lot of people are now working from home, so we're bringing on people who can do that. And thanks again, Mike, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Good luck, everybody.